I've been wanting to upgrade these hip pads for a while. These hip pads were something that I just kind of like tossed in there. I did upgrade the back band with ratchets, so it's got a ratcheted back band, which is mandatory on a slicey boat, by the way. And dagger back bands are the best back bands in the business, in my opinion. I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys on what I do and how I make a set of hip pads. These are going to be custom-made hip pads. This is not going to be off the shelf, you know, the wraparound style. I'm going to make this out of an old wall that came out of a Nomad that mysteriously got broken in half on the Chattooga, but I ended up coming up with it, and I have the stern wall. Well, the stern wall is going to be a good set of hip pads for me, so I'm going to show you guys on what I do on how I make a set of hip pads. And there's a few things, and what I'm using, I'm not using anything like fancy. I'm using just, that's the two, these are the tools I'm using right here. And spray 90. That's what I'm putting it in with. So I'm putting it in with some spray 90, duct tape, you know, and this is just regular old duct tape. That's the knife I'm using. This is just some cheapie that I got maybe at, I don't know, Walmart or somewhere. Sureform rasp. All of this stuff is all you need for making this. And I'll use, I'm going to use a Sharpie marker to get my shape. And I'm going to show you guys on how to get the shape down. And once I find the shape, then I'm going to cut them out and I'll make it. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get my measurements real quick and show you guys on how I get my measurements off of the boat. This is currently the hip pads that I have in here now. And you can see this is actually still the original foam that came in this boat. Look at that floppy crap in there. It looks to be about 8 inches. I'm going to need at least 8 inches of height to make that work. So you can see I elevated this up to create like a leg lifter and then flared those out. So that's just basically that. I'm going to show you. And what I did, I stayed with the original seat in this boat. And I screwed that down there. So because it's screwed in place, look how solid that seat is. And I did put some extra cord back here. But look how solid that seat's in there. Doesn't move, stays in place. But I'm going to show you guys on what I do to make this shape. What I want to do is get 8-inch mark. Put a line there. I'm trying to hold this camera at the same time. And then I'm going to mark these off. So I probably want to be at least 6 inches wide. All right, so I'm going to cut right here, and cut across. All right, everybody, I have my 2 blocks. So now I have my blocks, so that's kind of like where I'm starting at. So now that I have my 2 blocks here, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cut them down a little bit here. I'm going to cut a shape right in there like that. Now, obviously, this is kind of a rough shape. I don't need it to be perfect because I'm going to be shaping it a lot. What I'm basically doing is getting the actual shapes down first. I want the shapes to be kind of consistent. I'm cutting that angle. Come on, there you go. See, now it's starting to look more like a wedge. So you see how I'm just consistently, every time I shape one side, I'm shaping the other the same way. This marker's about dead. If you put the lid on them, maybe they'll last longer. Come on, man. Sorry if the camera's shaking a little lot. There we go. You know, that's actually a pretty good wedge to use somewhere else too. So you see my wedges are starting to look actually like hip pads now. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out of here. Jeez. Why would they cut that hole out there? So I don't really need that. Oh, you see that? Look what somebody made. Oh, I remember, that's how these hip pads went. So if you guys, anybody that's had an old Dagger boat, I actually forgot about these hip pads. So these were like shaped this way, and you would put a wedge in there, and it was a pill and stick type material that, you know, you had some adhesive backing, but then this had this little thing that was glued to it right here that went right inside. So you see that? That actually helped hold it in place. And that was the original concept behind doing this. It was overcomplicated. I don't think it was really needed, you know. I'm just going to leave that. I don't really need it that much. But you can see the shape that I'm working with here. Looks like I need to go a little bit shorter with them. There you go. We're coming together, baby. Coming together. So now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to decide which hip pad is the left and right, and that does matter, by the way. So I'm going to make this one the right hip pad. So because this is, the left, so this is going to be the left hip pad. So what I want to do on the left, I want to make this cutout. If your legs are ever going to sleep, usually it's because of this point is pushing a pressure point in your hip flexor and it's putting your legs to sleep. Take that down even more. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put like a bevel in it right here. And then on this one, I need to do it on this side. So you see, this is the left, this is the right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put an L and an R. My marker's not working that good, but I can still see it. I can still see. So that lets me know that this is going to be the left, this is going to be the right. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and do the left first. Another thing that happens is you want this area to be kind of thin down here too. So all your hip pad needs to be is to grab right here. And what that does, that's going to give me this area. That's what's going to hold me in the boat. This is basically just kind of like keeping me from sliding side by side. Keep me from sliding side by side. So I'm going to sit in the boat and see what that feels like and see where I need to go with that. So this hip pad's going to rest right there. Wow, that feels pretty good right there. So I'm getting pretty close. I say copy that shape on the right and then mount them. All right, so you see about how much I took off. So now I need to think about this is the right side, so I'm going to take down this front more. That's looking pretty good. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to glue another piece back here to kind of fill that void up some. I'm going to use those wedges there. Oh, that's perfect. This is where I'm going to use the spray 90. Get out of my way. So you want to get, with using spray 90, you want to get it, like you don't want to use a lot of it. You just want to put enough on there to make it tacky and then press it on. So that's a little wet. And you know, you're putting 8 inches of hip pads in here, and that's a little too wet right now to stick that in. You want to wait till it gets kind of dry. See, it's a little tacky right there. So that's pretty good right there. That is my right. All right, now that I have these blocks kind of in there pretty good, so that's the right, this is the left. Always do both sides when you're doing spray 90. And you don't need a lot. I just kind of like I said, I cover it and make it kind of tacky. And if you guys are using this, definitely use this stuff in a ventilated room. I had a buddy that outfitted a C1 one time, and he told me he went unconscious from so much spray 90. He probably lost, you know, the last 7 brain cells he had left. So now, I don't know, maybe he's down to his last 4 or 5 right now. So yeah, so definitely use caution if you guys are using this stuff. So you see, so that back band's still going to have to move behind it. So now that it's in, oh, don't let that tape touch itself. So you see kind of what I did there. That's going to let it hold. Now I'm going to repeat that on the other side. That's looking pretty good. Now that these are mounted down, I can pretty much let it get in there for a while. All right, everybody, this is the next day, and I want to show you guys kind of like what the finished product turned out looking like. I went ahead and glued them in, let them set, and then I glued them in, and then I taped them down here and up here so that way it's holding in both spots. So I let them set overnight and let this glue go down completely. And this is pretty much the finished product. I set in it. It fits great. It feels really good to me. So I like the way it feels. And you can see how I went. So what I'll do now is I'll take this tape off. I don't really need that. I'm leaving that tape on there, and I might go and put some more extra tape on there, but you can see the back band slides behind that. That's the entire like setup on the new, and what I'm gonna do also, now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get the shop vac and I'm gonna vacuum all of that out. So I'll put a good vacuum on it, so you know, my next trip I'm not like putting all that crap in the river. And you should vacuum your boat out every now and then too, because what happens is sand will get up under your tracks and stuff. It wears your boat out. So every now and then I'll get my boats and I'll vacuum. I've got a little cheap shop vac that I use my boats after they start getting a lot of dirt and dust and sand in them. That's pretty much the shape of the hip pad. I tapered off there. It transitions down Like, so really this isn't what's holding me in. I wanted more of a hook style hip pad up here to hold me in, and that's what I made. So these right here are kind of old school hip pads back in the day, and it looks like there's a lot in there, but actually all that really is you're like, oh wow, you know, your hips are that narrow, but actually down here is where the hips are. This rides on top of the hip. So I want to be that, so when I am upside down or vertical, I don't just slide out. This kind of like hooks me down in there. So that's the difference that you'll see, even though you look at it and you're like, oh, that's not even that wide. Yeah, but when I get in, I actually push that up. And this foam is very compressible foam, so it's pretty soft foam. And if you guys use like an old wall out of a boat or something, that's a good way to go. Yeah, so guys, this is something that I've done in a lot of my boats throughout time, especially when I get an older boat like this and I want to put hip pads in it. I usually make my own. Leave in the comments below on what you guys have done to make hip pads, how you do this differently, because we all kind of do something a little different. I'm always interested in what other boaters have to say on how they outfit their boats and all that. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for watching. Hit a like on this video if you like what you've seen here. Leave a comment on what you think, what you would have done different. If you're seeing I make a mistake, you know, we're always learning. I'd like to know how you guys make your hip pads. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.